Sometimes marriages end not with screaming fights, but with whispered commands. In my case, it was the moment my mother-in-law cornered me in my own kitchen and said, "Serve lunch and keep quiet," that I realized I was living with the enemy. 5 minutes later, when that doorbell rang, the woman who'd been systematically destroying my life for 3 years was about to get exactly what she deserved. Everything seemed like a normal Sunday family lunch until my mother-in-law, Patricia, cornered me in the kitchen and handed me a manila envelope with my name written in her perfect handwriting. "Open this after everyone leaves," she whispered, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my wrist. "Then we'll discuss your future in this family." I knew she was planning something devastating, but I didn't know that envelope contained evidence that would either destroy my marriage or expose her as the manipulative monster she really was. Patricia is 58, a former socialite, who never got over losing her status when her husband's business failed, but she's obsessed with maintaining the illusion of perfect family control. That obsession had turned her into a master manipulator who saw me as the obstacle to getting her son back under her thumb. My husband Marcus is 34, a successful architect who grew up believing his mother could do no wrong, but he's terrified of confrontation because his childhood was filled with her emotional manipulation. That fear was about to force him to choose between his wife and his mother. And me? I'm Emma, 31, a graphic designer who moved across the country for love, but I'm completely isolated from my own support system. I thought I could handle one difficult mother-in-law. I had no idea I was walking into a 3-year psychological war. Before I tell you what was in that envelope that changed everything, please hit subscribe and comment below. Have you ever had a family member try to sabotage your relationship? Let's continue with the story that proves sometimes the doorbell really can save your life. The lunch started innocently enough. Patricia had insisted on hosting at our house. "Emma's place is so cozy," she'd said with that fake smile. But the moment she walked through the door with her designer purse and judgmental eyes, I knew I was in for 3 hours of subtle torture. "Oh, Emma," she said, surveying my carefully prepared meal, "you made pasta salad again. How?" Predictable. She set down a store-bought cake that somehow looked more elegant than my homemade lasagna. "I brought dessert. I wasn't sure you'd have time to make anything special." Marcus, oblivious as always, kissed his mother's cheek. "Mom, you didn't need to bring anything. Emma's an amazing cook." Patricia's smile could have frozen wine. "Of course she is, darling. Very adequate for everyday meals." I bit my tongue and served lunch, playing the dutiful daughter-in-law while she systematically criticized everything from my table settings to my career choices. "Still doing those little computer drawings, Emma? How nice that Marcus can support your hobbies." That's when Marcus excused himself to take a work call, and Patricia struck like a viper. The moment Marcus left the room, Patricia's mask slipped completely. She followed me into the kitchen, her heels clicking on the tile like a countdown timer. "We need to talk," she said, pulling that manila envelope from her purse. "About your marriage." My blood went cold. "What about my marriage, Patricia? Marcus deserves better than this." She gestured around my kitchen with disgust. "Better than you." I gripped the counter. "Excuse me? You're holding him back, Emma. He could be partner at his firm by now if he didn't have to worry about supporting someone who plays with crayons for a living." Her voice was poison, sweet. "He's too kind to say it, but I can see how unhappy he is." "That's not true. Marcus loves the idea of you," she interrupted. "But ideas don't last. Reality does. And the reality is, you're not good enough for my son." She pressed the envelope into my hands. "These are copies of some very interesting documents. Phone records, bank statements, credit reports, things that show Marcus exactly who he really married." My heart stopped. "You had me investigated?" "I had you researched, dear." "There's a difference." She stepped closer, her perfume suffocating. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out about the debt you're hiding from him?" The credit cards you maxed out before you met? The loan your parents took out to pay for your college that you defaulted on? I couldn't breathe. Marcus didn't know about any of that. I'd been too ashamed to tell him, too afraid he'd see me differently. So here's what's going to happen, Patricia continued. You're going to serve lunch and keep quiet about this conversation. After everyone leaves, you're going to pack your things and leave. Quietly. With dignity. I've even prepared a letter for you to sign, explaining that you realized this marriage was a mistake. I'm not leaving my husband. Oh, but you are. Her smile was shark-like. Because if you don't, Marcus gets these documents tomorrow morning, along with some additional information about the real reason you moved across the country. Running away from problems seems to be your specialty, doesn't it, Emma? Before I could ask what she meant by that, the doorbell rang. I'll get it. I called out, desperate to escape Patricia's suffocating presence. My hands were shaking as I opened the front door. Standing there was my sister-in-law Rachel, Marcus's younger sister who lived 3 states away. But she wasn't alone. Next to her stood a woman I'd never seen before, middle-aged, professional-looking, carrying a briefcase. Emma? Rachel hugged me tight. Surprise! I know we said we couldn't make it, but something came up that couldn't wait. The woman with her stepped forward. Mrs. Emma Hartford? I'm Detective Sarah Mills. I need to speak with you and your family about Patricia Hartford. My world tilted. Detective? Rachel's face was grim. Emma, we need to talk. About Marcus's mother. About what she's been doing to your marriage. And about what she did to my marriage before you. Patricia appeared behind me, her face pale but composed. Rachel, darling, what a lovely surprise. And Detective Mills, was it? I'm sure whatever this is about, it's just a misunderstanding. Detective Mills looked at Patricia with recognition that made my blood run cold. Mrs. Patricia Hartford, you're under arrest for identity theft, fraud, and harassment. You have the right to remain silent. As the detective read Patricia her rights, Rachel grabbed my hand. Emma, that envelope she gave you, don't open it. It's all lies. Fabricated documents. We've been tracking her con game for 6 months. Marcus came running when he heard the commotion, his face a mask of confusion and horror as he watched his mother being handcuffed in our living room. What's happening? Mom, what's going on? Detective Mills looked at him with sympathy. Mr. Hartford, your mother has been running an elaborate fraud scheme targeting her own family members and their spouses. We have evidence of identity theft, document forgery, and systematic harassment designed to break up marriages. Rachel stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Marcus, she did this to me too. 3 years ago, she drove David away with lies and fake evidence about affairs and debt that never existed. I thought I was going crazy until I hired a private investigator last year. The manila envelope fell from my numb fingers, scattering fake documents across our floor. Bank statements with my name, but transactions I never made. Phone records showing calls to numbers I'd never dialed. Credit reports that painted me as a financial disaster. She's been planning this for months, Rachel continued. Building a case to destroy Emma the same way she destroyed my marriage. The same way she's probably destroyed other relationships we don't even know about. Marcus looked like he was going to be sick. Mom, is this true? Patricia, even with handcuffs on, lifted her chin defiantly. Everything I did was to protect you, Marcus. You deserve better than... Stop. Marcus's voice was steel. Just stop. Detective Mills continued her work. We found a storage unit full of similar materials targeting various family members. Falsified documents, surveillance photos, detailed psychological profiles. Your mother has been operating what amounts to a family destruction business for years. As Patricia was led away, she turned back one last time. You'll regret this, Emma. You don't know what you've done to this family. But for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't afraid of her. Rachel hugged me as we watched the police car disappear. I'm so sorry, Emma. I should have warned you sooner, but I didn't have proof until recently. when I found out she was targeting you the same way. Marcus wrapped his arms around both of us, his whole body shaking. I can't believe I didn't see it. All those little comments, the way she always found something wrong with everyone I dated. God, Emma, what she put you through. Detective Mills handed me her card. You'll need to come in to give a statement, but the charges against your mother-in-law are serious. With the evidence we have, she's looking at significant jail time. As the detective left, the three of us sat in our destroyed living room, fake documents scattered everywhere like confetti at the world's worst party. How long has she been doing this? Marcus asked quietly. Rachel pulled out a folder she'd brought. Based on what the investigator found, at least 15 years, maybe longer. Dad's business didn't fail, Marcus. She sabotaged it because she was jealous of his partner's wife. Your first girlfriend in college? The one who cheated on you? Those photos were staged. My husband looked broken. She destroyed my entire life. Every relationship, every friendship she disapproved of. But not this one, I said firmly, taking his hand. Not us. We survived her. Over the next few hours, as Rachel helped us piece together the extent of Patricia's manipulation, something beautiful happened. For the first time since we'd been married, Marcus and I really talked, about everything. I told him about the debt she'd threatened to expose, and he held me while I cried about being too ashamed to share my struggles. He told me about the constant anxiety he'd felt, never understanding why his mother disliked everyone he cared about, always wondering if something was wrong with his judgment. She made me doubt myself, he said. Made me doubt you. Every time you seemed upset after she visited, she'd tell me it was because you weren't really happy, that you were just too polite to say so. Rachel shared her own story of destruction, how Patricia had systematically convinced her ex-husband that Rachel was having an affair, complete with fabricated evidence and staged photos. By the time Rachel realized what was happening, David had already filed for divorce. The worst part, Rachel said, was that she made me think I was paranoid. Every time I tried to tell someone what she was doing, it sounded crazy. Your mother-in-law is out to get you. Who believes that? 3 months later, we sat in a courtroom watching Patricia Hartford be sentenced to 5 years in prison for multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and harassment. The judge's words were like music to my ears. Mrs. Hartford, your systematic destruction of family relationships through fraud and manipulation represents a particularly heinous crime. You've betrayed the trust of your own family and caused immeasurable emotional damage to innocent people. Marcus squeezed my hand as the sentence was read. Rachel sat on my other side, finally getting justice for her destroyed marriage. But the real satisfaction came afterward, in the victim impact statements. I stood up and looked Patricia in the eye for the first time since her arrest. Patricia Hartford spent 3 years trying to convince me I wasn't good enough for her son, I said. She fabricated evidence, spread lies, and systematically tried to destroy my marriage. But she failed. And in the process, she lost the one thing she claimed to be protecting, her relationship with her son. Marcus stood next. I spent 34 years believing my mother loved me. I now understand that what I thought was love was actually control. What I thought was protection was actually destruction. I will never forgive her for what she tried to do to my wife, and I will never trust her again. Patricia's lawyer had advised her not to speak, but as we left the courtroom, she called out one last time, "You've destroyed this family, Emma." I turned back to her, no longer the frightened woman who'd served lunch and stayed quiet. "No, Patricia," I said calmly. "I saved it. Sometimes the people who claim to love us the most are actually the ones destroying us slowly, one manipulation at a time. Real love doesn't tear down, it builds up. Real family doesn't require you to diminish yourself to make others feel powerful. That doorbell didn't just save my marriage, it saved my sanity." For 3 years, I'd been living in a fog of self-doubt, wondering why I never felt good enough, why family gatherings felt like battlefields, why my husband seemed distant, after every visit with his mother. I thought the problem was me. I thought I wasn't trying hard enough, wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy of love. I was wrong. The problem was never me. Patricia Hartford was a master manipulator who saw love as a competition she had to win. She couldn't bear to share her son's affection, so she set out to systematically destroy anyone who threatened her control. I was just her latest victim, but thanks to Rachel's courage and Detective Mills's investigation, I was also her last. If someone in your family is constantly finding fault with your spouse, if they're always stirring up drama or making you question your relationship, pay attention. Trust your instincts. Love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't tear down. And love certainly doesn't involve fake documents and elaborate schemes to destroy marriages. Don't serve lunch, and keep quiet when someone tries to destroy your happiness. Speak up. Fight back. Get help if you need it. You deserve better than psychological warfare disguised as family concern. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Have you ever dealt with a family member who tried to sabotage your relationships? Tell me your story in the comments below. You never know who might need to hear that they're not alone. Sometimes the doorbell really can save your life. In my case, it saved my marriage, my sanity, and my future. And Patricia Hartford? She learned that when you try to destroy other people's happiness, you end up destroying your own. The woman who spent 3 years telling me to serve lunch and keep quiet is now serving 5 years in prison. Justice really is sweet.